Good morning. Welcome to the shop. Time for another project. It's a frosty, cool morning, but I just got another delivery. A pile of steel showed up here this morning, and that pile of steel is going to turn itself into a plasma table, a CNC plasma table. So it's a project I've been wanting to do for a while. I picked up some plans on the internet off a guy named JD's Garage, and I took those plans and promptly redesigned everything for what I'm gonna want. Let's take a look here. All right, so like I said, I bought plans from JD's Garage for their XL table. It's a system based more or less on a Langmuir system with 2x2 rails that carrier or bearing carriers slide along for your motion. I decided that it's not going to be robust enough for me. JD's Garage has a nice, light, simple design that uses a lot of 3D printed parts for the complicated stuff. That's brilliant, and it'll make a nice, simple system that'll be cheap. I decided I'm going to need something a little bit more robust because I want to be able to handle a 4x8 sheet of 1 inch up to that. So I beefed everything up and I started with their design and then added a little extra and decided that wasn't going to be enough. So eventually I just threw the plans in the trash and modeled up a completely new system here. Instead of the 2x2 rails that have barrier carriers that slide along it, I've upgraded to linear rails through here. I think that'll be a little bit more robust in the end. My Z-axis here, instead of being a lot of 3D printed parts, I'm going to do that all out of aluminum. I'll machine up a bunch of stuff there. And yeah, so that's my table that I'm going to build. Of course, the plans will change a lot along the way. I know there's some things that I don't quite like on this yet, but I'll get it all squared away as we're building. But things are based more or less a 5x10 sheet of stainless folded up into a water pan, and everything else, all the dimensions are kind of built around that. So I should be able to handle 4x8 sheet, no problem. All right. Unfortunately, I got to go to work right now, so I won't be able to get going on this. But the first step will be to chop up the stainless and send her out to get bent up. I think I'm going to do the pan. I've got it drawn here as one piece, but I'm going to change that into 2 separate pans. It'll just make things a little bit easier. And then if I am just running small jobs where I just need to use the one end, I don't have to fill up the entire table. I can just fill the one side up and worry about that. And yeah, so that's that. I will bring it back in when we get started on some work here. All right, back in the shop, got a little bit of work done. Let me show you what I got here. All right, so a bunch of steel, all the raw steel I got broken down into manageable lengths, and I got my water pan bent up. Took that sheet of 5x10, notched out the corners, took it downtown to a local shop, and they bent it up for me. So that's looking great. All I got left to do here now is just weld up the corners. And maybe add a drain in the bottom. That's going to be important too. So I'll do that. Now that I have this, I have some exact dimensions that I can work off of, and I can build the rest of the frame around it and start cutting everything to exact lengths here. So that's great. Also, had some parts showing up finally from Amazon. This being one of the more important ones. This is the pair of linear rails. So these things slide back and forth on it. No play, nice and solid. These ones are going to be for the, let me think here, get this right. This is the X-axis. So this is the gantry that runs across the table that carries the Z-axis. And the torch, for some reason, my Y-axis ones seem to be back ordered. I ordered one size larger for those, and they might not be here for another
2 to 3 weeks, which sucks, but anyway, is what it is. At least with this, I can continue on and build a large part of things. But I did want to have the parts in hand so I can, like, for instance, drill out all the holes for these prior to welding them on so that I can... let's see, those are going to mount to, the 2x2 is not in here, but the linear rails for the y-axis are going to mount to some 2x2 square tubing. So it'd be a lot nicer to drill all the holes out for this on the milling machine before I weld them onto the side rails, which are going to be made up with that flat stuff there. So... anyway, what else? I had a few other minor things showing up. I got the drive belts, I got power supply, some expensive wiring, shielded stuff. I was busy last night working on milling up just some mounting plates, drilled and tapped. The mates for those are over here. Those are all drilled, ready to go. So I think the next process is going to be to, I think I want to build the legs because I can level those out once the leveling feet come, that is. And then I can make something flat and straight to work off of. And then I can start welding up some other parts. So I think the legs are going to be the first part. But before that, I have some real work I got to get done here today. So this is going to have to wait. But anyway, I'll check in when I've got a little more done here. All right, been working away here. Working on the first side rail here. So this will obviously form the side. And the water pan will sit right in here all the way along. So right now I'm just working on the cross members. Oh yeah, I got the legs. Legs are all done here. Those are all welded together. So I'm working on the cross members, and of course everything needs to be super parallel, right? So I'm using the mill to square up the ends, and more importantly, get them all to exactly the same length. So these two are done. I got a few more thou to go on this one, so let's just take a pass here. Why not? I think I already set the in here. Whoops, screwed up. That's what happens when you lose concentration. I think it was 90. No, it was 80. 80 thou. There we go. Okay. So taking a full depth cut here is a little brutal on the edge. Coming up on the edge here. Go a little slower through this. Makes a horrendous noise. Alright. Let's try that. Here's my tape measure. Don't get caught in the middle. And where are we at here? That is, like bang on the money. It was ended up being a 16th under my target, so I'll have to adjust everything. I got two more end rails. I cut one piece, and there ended up being a little bit too much out of square with the cut with the chop saw, so I had to skinny her all up to my smallest ones. So yeah, now that I got those done, I can weld on the mounting plates, which are over here. This will go on like right there. Oops, wrong way. I think. There we go. That's the way that fits. Fit that baby in there, and while they're on, and that becomes the cross members that hold the pan up. Okay, enough chit-chatting. Let's get back to work. All right, here we are making good progress. Got most of the frame all together here. And I just bolted the legs on. So next step here, I got two things I got to do. These end rails that I have to build those that go across there, and then the cross tubes for the legs. This is of course upside down, so those cross tubes will be kind of between here and there, and there, and there, and there. Brace it all up. So yeah, starting to make very good progress. Things are coming together very nicely. I put a lot of work into trying to get all my plates and beams super square. And it's looking good. Pretty happy with it. So anyway, I will jump on to the next step here. Okay, so somebody screwed up. Didn't match up their material list order with the design. So here I've got a 2-inch tube on the top, which will match the side rails here. That's not installed on here yet. And then there's 2 tubes on the inside, which kind of match that. This is upside down right now, of course. Here's my material that I got left. And there's only enough for 2 pieces. And I, of course, need 2 of these. So 4 pieces of 1.5 inches. So that ain't going to work. But for some reason, I happen to have a lot of 4x2. So I think when I was doing my order, I was assuming that I would do 5 cross members, including 2 ends. So what doesn't quite work out is that I pre-drilled and tapped these here for mounting the end plates onto the side rails, and 4 inches only comes down to there because this is what do we got, 6.5 inches there. So I think I'll just weld on like I don't know, a piece of angle or a little tab or something like that to catch the last hole there. So I still got 4 bolts holding those end rails on. Yeah, so oh well, at least this was a easy fix and it won't be too screwy. Maybe a little bit, but not too bad. All right, back to work. Let's start chopping steel. All right, got it on its feet. Switched gears a little bit here. I was working on the end rails. That's these pieces right here. But I kind of decided I didn't want them in place so that I could get around and weld these bottom cross tubes in place a lot easier without having to hop and duck under everything. So anyway, and I wanted to see it on its feet. Now it's starting to look like something, which is pretty awesome. So I'll get those end rails done. Oh yeah, I got to finish welding the tops of these tubes here, so I'll get that all done yet. Yeah, get the end rails in place, and then I think it's time for like some inspection, because I've got a next step here is putting I'm running some 2x2 box tubing along the tops of those plates there, and that's going to be what the linear rails mount into, and I'm unsure about how I want to proceed with that. So if everything is like super straight, then I think I can just mill all those, or take that to the milling machine and drill out all the mounting holes for the linear rails, because there's a heck of a lot of holes. Every 60 millimeters, I think, is what they are. But the linear rails aren't here yet, so I want to have those before I drill. So if this thing is super straight, then I can just drill them all out on the milling machine and then mount them up. But if the sides are not straight and parallel, then I might want to drill out the linear rails in place, which might necessitate a mag drill, which I don't have. So I might go rent one, or maybe I make a last minute Amazon purchase for one of those. Would be nice to have. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. I'll get these end rails done and get this thing leveled out,
and inspected for straightness and parallelism. So, yeah, here we go. Let's get back to work. Okay, just a little bit of testing. I checked for parallelism across the sides, and it's really, really close. There's like one place somewhere down here, I think, where it's like a 16th inch out, which is pretty darn good. I'm super impressed that I got it that close. I wasn't expecting it to be that close, and I don't even have the end rails on here yet. So that may help straighten it out. Plus, I've got a little bit of, what do I got there? Like 4.5 inches of 3/16 plate sticking up. And it's got a little bit of snaky going down it, like not much, like teeny tiny. But once I weld on the 2x2x1/4, that is going to straighten things out considerably. And I think once I've got that on, that's going to be pretty darn close to parallel. So I might be able to drill everything out on the milling machine, which would be awesome because that'll save a lot of time. I also set up my laser level and checked it to try and get things leveled up here. And I got everything leveled out when I pressed down, but this side's got a little bit of a shake. So it's like tight in corner and corner. And then these two corners here are a little bit loose. So I've got a little bit of like torque going on there. So I loosened off all the bolts. That helped a little bit, but the leg cross members down at the bottom there are all fully welded in. So I think that might be holding it out a little bit. So my plan, I think, is going to be to take it outside with the machine and try and tweak it a little bit. Maybe I'll hold down on one end with the excavator and push down with the skid steer on the other, sort of thing. Maybe that will help me tweak it back the other way and make it hold a little more level. So anyway, let's give that a try. Smooth some stuff around and see what we can do. All right, Saturday's done. Time to head home for supper, but I got the frame all finished. Pretty happy with this. Everything turned out better than I was expecting. I was a little concerned about how straight things would be after I finished welding, in particular these sides here. Once I ended up finishing off these ends here at both ends, everything trued itself right up. And these things are super parallel now, like, I don't know, within 15 thousandths. So like there's hardly any little bend to them at all. And of course, once I weld the 2x2 rails to them, everything will be straight. Yeah, so everything ended up really straight and true and square. And well, actually, I can't say square. I haven't checked it for square yet. Partly, I don't really care that much about square. That's not the important part. Parallel is very important. But square is not so much, because the X gantry will square itself up with homing switches once that's all set up. But otherwise, square's not really that big a deal, as long as it fits the water pan, of course. The water pan is square, so that has to fit in here. But I do have a little extra room to work with because of my little screw up here, ordering 2-inch rather than more 1.5" for that. So I've got an extra 1/2 inch at each end to fudge with. So if I'm a little bit out of square, it doesn't matter. So yeah, that's it. I'm waiting for the linear rails still, and I don't want to mount or drill those things yet. The 2x2, which the linear rails are going to mount into. I can cut those to length, I guess, but I don't want to weld them on until I have those linear rails here, so I can confirm that bolt pattern. And if it's, seeing as everything's really nice and straight here, I think I can drill that all out in the mill, so I can pop all those holes in with the DRO and get everything real nice. So that'll be good. Yeah, so I can get those 2x2s cut to length, but that's about all I can do for the frame. I guess I can start working on the X gantry. There's a little bit of stuff I can start working on there. Kind of getting that cross tube and some of the components cut out. There's a lot of fiddling around with that stuff. So
Anyway, it's all looking pretty good, and I'm real happy. So, getting anxious. I want to get this thing done so I can start making some sparks. Anyway, check in later, and I'll have a little more for you.